Right guys, what is going on? BusterBarnes here, bringing you my recap / review of our week in Fantasy Premier League, Game Week 9 to be exact. We will be seeing how I did, and also we'll be going through all of the fixtures, and I'll be giving you guys sort of my tips or thoughts, I guess, on what you can expect from maybe players going forward, and also giving my opinions on maybe some injuries and some other player performances as well. So if you guys do enjoy this series, please be sure to leave a like, comment below how you guys did this game week and maybe what you're thinking of doing. I'm happy to take any questions as well if you guys do so wish to ask me. Also, as always, do subscribe for more Fantasy Premier League content, as I'll be hitting you with it every single week. My preview for Game Week 10 will be out in the next few days as well, so you can also stay tuned for that. Now, as some of you guys may know, having watched my preview for this game week, all I wanted was some consistency. We had 2 green arrows the last 2 weeks, and all I wanted to do was get another one. By whatever means, I wanted some consistency within the team, and boy did we get it. 74 points, 19 above the average, and I believe our rank raised from about, or by about 100k, as we are now ranked 120,942nd in the game, and God, it's going really well at the moment. As you guys can see, my obviously rank that I finished in last season, we are pretty much 300 points ahead of that. It is very early though, and if you guys didn't know, I do actually tend to have a bit of a habit of dropping off after, say, game week 10, so I am getting a little bit worried about that, but we'll obviously be looking more forward in my preview, which will be coming out in a few days. But yeah, looking at my team, it actually performed very well. Obviously Lamptey is there, did get the red cards, and wasn't actually starting for me originally. I actually did have Zaha starting, but he has actually tested positive for coronavirus, so it does mean that Lamptey did unfortunately have to come in and get me that -1, which is a bit of a shame. Those are 2 players that will not be playing next week as well, so that will give me, a little bit of thinking to do on what I'm going to do going into game week 10. But with some other players, Martinez, Kilman, Ziyech, Grealish, all actually getting blanks, so maybe not looking so good from the start of things, but the rest of the team is really what pulled me through. Chilwell getting 7 points, very nice from him. Robertson getting 12, getting an assist, a clean sheet, and 3 bonus points against Leicester, which is awesome. Son picking up some points, but he's very highly owned. Kane getting an assist. Calvert-Lewin, who I think some people are maybe shying away from a little bit more, did still pick up 13 points against Fulham, so that is absolutely awesome. And the big risk, guys, this week was bringing in Fernandes. I didn't know whether I wanted to get rid of Salah, because obviously there's the dilemma of having to bring him back, and I could have just kept him for a week, but especially with Zaha not playing and with Lamptey getting the red card, I do think that getting rid of Salah for Fernandes was the right decision. Captaining Fernandes, before I actually brought in Fernandes, I was looking at the fixtures ahead and I thought, you know what, I could just really see Man U scraping a 1-0 with a penalty against West Brom. As I have told you guys, West Brom's defence is better now, so I didn't think it would be easy for Manchester United, but and that's exactly what happened. Maybe a bit controversial whether West Brom should have got a penalty as well, but obviously that wouldn't have affected Fernandes' score really. I guess it would have maybe given him -2. He would have only got 20, I suppose, because of no clean sheet. But I do think that it was the right decision to do and was to bring him in. Looking forward though to next week, we'll have to see what I do, but yeah, this week I'm happy with the decisions I made. On the bench, nothing really to talk about. I'm not sure if Mitchell will ever break back into the Crystal Palace team. Hopefully he does, because like I said, I have some players absent next week, but yeah, obviously Zaha will not be available next week either, which is a little bit unfortunate, but that's how my team did. Do let me know in the comments down below how your guys' team did, and if you are already thinking of bringing someone new in, or if you already have, or if you're using a wildcard, please do let me know. But if we go down and look at all the fixtures, starting from the top, Chelsea 2, Newcastle 0. Just complete domination from Chelsea really. Newcastle didn't really have any great chances. Mendy did not have to do much. I think it looks good. Tammy Abraham, obviously maybe a cheaper option for people's attacks so far. Pulisic is coming back, but I don't think he'll be starting anytime soon. So I do think that Tammy Abraham, maybe if you just want to punt for a few weeks, or you're planning on using a wildcard in a few weeks, maybe Tammy Abraham's not an awful shout to actually have. Tottenham at home is going to be tough, but I'd probably expect maybe both teams to score in that game. So Yeah, I'm not too sure. It's up to you guys. Obviously, Kane and Son are the informed players. Aston Villa 1, Brighton 2. Very strange from Aston Villa. Seem to be getting these good, big results, especially away from home. But I believe they've maybe lost, I think against Brighton, that was their third loss at home. So since that Liverpool game at home at Villa Park has not been great for Aston Villa. They were maybe unlucky though to not win, or to not draw at least, from XG. But obviously Lamptey, who's the Brighton player that a lot of people have, did in fact get a red card. So yeah, not really much to talk about these two teams. I think if you have any assets from them, you keep them, unless it's obviously Lamptey. But yeah, going into Spurs v City, the big game of the weekend. Spurs getting a 2-0. City really just don't look the same lately. I mean, there's just something a bit off. Guardiola obviously did sign that new contract. But, I mean, with City it's hard because looking forward, their fixtures are so good. But, again, the question is now is, if you want a City asset, you want probably a City asset that's going to play the majority of games. And I think that those two are only going to be Kevin De Bruyne and Sterling. And they're so expensive and City aren't performing, so it's a bit of a risk taking them in. I don't know if it's just worth getting a cheaper option and maybe accepting they might get rotated, or going for one of the big guys. I don't know. I'm not sure if I'll be bringing one in for next week. Obviously, though, Zaha is out, so I could bring someone in. I could bring in a Foden or a Mahrez, but then do I want to? I don't know if they're going to even start or not. So Jesus is another option, but he'd mean that I'd have to take a -4, I believe, to get him in. And with Aguero obviously back. So I don't know, very shifty around Man City, very uncertain. They do have Cancelo at defence as well, but Mendy's coming back. It's just very hard with the Pep roulette. Man U scraping the 1-0 against West Brom. I think Fernandes, if you have him, you keep him, and I think that's probably what I'm going to do. As Man U do just win penalties, they just do, and he takes them. He's also scoring his outfield goals as well. He's definitely looking like their best player at the moment this season, and I think you keep him. Other Man U assets maybe a little bit more dodgy. I mean, a defender's maybe not an awful shout. West Brom, obviously, I wouldn't have any of their assets at the moment until they start picking up something. Going into Fulham, Everton. Everton, again, Calvert-Lewin is just on form. Now that Richarlison's back in the team, he got some assists. I think he's a good option, and I do think that Everton are now going to start playing well now that he's back in the team. I think there was a stat that they've never won a game that he hasn't played for them since he's been there, so that is a pretty crazy stat, and now he's back. I do think that Everton are definitely a lot more appealing. Fulham, I will say one thing, and that is they do actually look fairly decent. Now, their penalty taking is obviously atrocious. I don't know why they've got 3 different players taking 3 different penalties. I mean, just because you miss a pen doesn't mean you should necessarily be booted off them straight away, so I don't know, maybe it's a confidence thing. But one thing I will say is Loftus-Cheek came on, he did win a pen, and he did also score a goal, maybe a bit lucky, but maybe if Scott Parker starts giving Loftus-Cheek some minutes, he could be the Fulham player to have. I think Lookman looks great as well, and Anguissa at a 4.5 million option if you need one is good. I think Fulham have some really fun, exciting players, and I do think that maybe they will have a chance of staying up and having some decent assets in the future, but probably would stay away from them for now just because they do have some tough fixtures coming up. Sheffield and West Ham, not much to say. I think West Ham look decent, and I think that Antonio, once he comes back, will be a decent option. However, at the moment, I wouldn't necessarily go after any West Ham options as of yet. Leeds and Arsenal, I think if you have your Leeds assets, you keep them. Obviously, they're quite cheap and good value. Maybe disappointed that maybe Bamford didn't score for some of you guys, considering Arsenal went down to 10 men from that ridiculous Pepe headbutt. I mean, I know he was baited into it, but very silly. And I think Arsenal assets, you need to probably stay away from them for now, as they just need to sort out what their best team is and how they're going to play. I mean, maybe having an Arsenal defender isn't the worst thing to do, but I just think they're not very convincing at all, and Arteta doesn't really seem to know what's going on, and also just no creativity at all. So once they get some creativity in their team, maybe they will be a little bit more appealing. But with that said, creativity, Liverpool scoring 3 goals against Leicester City. I know a lot of people now are raving about Jota and looking at him. He is a decent price point as well. I believe it's something like 6.5. The only thing which troubles me is will he get rotated? I mean, at 6.5, it's maybe not so bad. He's definitely someone I'm looking at to maybe used to replace Zaha, but I'm not 100% sure. You'd think it would have been a closer game, and I mean, the fact that Liverpool have won 3-0 against Leicester when they've got all these injuries probably just shows that they're going to unfortunately win the league, shows what a good manager Klopp is, as much as it pains me to say. So, yeah, I do think that... I mean, if you have Liverpool options, you obviously just keep them. I've got Robertson, and maybe you can find some maybe cheaper, good value options in there with the players that are injured. And yeah, I mean, I just think that they're going to keep performing well. Salah's going to be back soon. It's going to be interesting to see what people have kept Salah, or what people are going to bring him back, or, all of that stuff. Will he even start their next game? Will he be fit? Obviously, Havertz hasn't started for Chelsea since coming back, as he was lacking maybe a bit of fitness. So, going to be interesting to see if Salah starts straight away. But going into Monday's games, not much to say. Burnley beating Crystal Palace. It really just shows what sort of team Crystal Palace are without Wilfried Zaha. But also, Burnley, now they've got some of their players like Ben Mee back, might be a bit more solid defensively. So maybe looking at their assets over the next few games, or when they've got some good fixtures, wouldn't be an awful idea. Wolves 1, Southampton 1. Wolves' assets really not looking that appealing at the moment. I think Kilman looks good. Obviously, he is a starting 4 million centre-back, so I think that he's a good option. But besides him, I'm not too sure about the other Wolves players at the moment. Jimenez not looking as appealing as he did last season. Southampton, I think Adams is looking quite good. He's definitely still a good option. Don't know if I'd really go with anyone else. I mean, McCarthy's a decent budget keeper. Walker-Peters a decent budget defender. But yeah, I think there's maybe slightly better players around the same price that you could get for those two. But Southampton obviously looking decent. They're flying quite high at the moment, so we will see if that continues. But that is going to be it, guys, my recap of Game Week 9. Please let me know how you did in the comments below, or what you are thinking of doing. And as always, do join my league code that you can see at the top of the screen as well if you want to join the official BusterBarnes Fantasy Premier League. And yeah, if you guys did enjoy, please leave a like. And subscribe for more Fantasy Premier League content. I also bring other footballing content to the channel as well, and also FIFA 21 content too, if you guys are interested in that. But stay tuned for my Game Week 10 preview coming up in a few days, and I do hope that I will see all you guys there. Hope you have a nice day, and I'll see you next time.